Thank you for listening to Pal Block Podcast, the flagship Nintendo podcast of Boss Rush Network. Do you need even more gaming and entertainment in your life? Head over to bossrush.net where you can find news, reviews, creators, podcasts, and more focused around the content you enjoy.
Go. Hello everybody, welcome to Nintendo Expansion Pass. I'm your host and enlightened excited Eddie V. Joining me once again is Bossman himself, the one, the only Mr. Corey Dirrig.
Hello, we're back talking things.
And if everybody's seen last episode,
yeah, I'm really upset.
Me and Corey had a really good discussion about Fall Guys and some other things.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so little inside baseball. Ed and I are kind of recording a couple back-to-back here, and so yesterday, as of the time of this recording, by the way, Ed, remind me to read the patrons in a second.
Yes.
We were talking about Nintendo's fall schedule and what it could look like, and where certain games were falling. And then, of course, not like 10 hours later after we got done recording, not even, there's a thing for Splatoon. It's like, oh, we're coming out in September. And it made our entire episode. It makes us look stupid. So, except I did say September for Splatoon, though. So I was pretty excited about that.
Yeah, and I did say August. And I literally will say this. I think that Xenoblade and Splatoon 3 has switched dates and stuff. Because I guess,
I mean, that seemed to be the general consensus in the chat, right? In the big group chat, right?
Yeah, because now it's like, what are we getting in August? Like, and literally, because now I think if Mario Rabbids do come in August, okay, we're good to go. Because I don't know, I forgot where you said it at. I think you said September, did you?
What?
Or Mario Rabbids or October?
I said August.
You said August. So that could possibly now happen. Now we literally don't know what's happening in October.
Yeah.
I still say Bayonetta 3. But that December could be looking like.
I mean, my argument in the group chat was like, you think of all the games that are coming out, first party and third party games on other platforms and on Switch, right? Like, you look at Jedi Fallen Order 2, which will probably be announced within the next month because, I think it's going to get announced at Star Wars Day, so this episode will probably also look like it's out of date as well.
Yeah.
But you got Jedi Fallen Order 2, you got Call of Duty, probably Forza, probably Redfall, Starfield, God of War. You really want to put a niche game like Bayonetta in there? Right? I mean, no offense to Bayonetta, it's a great game and it's popular in a sense, but it's not a mainstream game. Let's not sit here and pretend Bayonetta is mainstream. I think
it's even though it may not seem mainstream to Nintendo fans, it kind of seems mainstream.
I think hardcore Nintendo fans are excited for Bayonetta because Nintendo kind of locked up that exclusivity for a mature game, and obviously Bayonetta is like cool, she's sexy, she's got these awesome moves, her games are fun and fluid, and right, I mean, like that's a big deal for a Nintendo platform. It's not necessarily a big deal for other platforms. You know what I mean? And
I think it's just speaking on Bayonetta 2. I think I say that's a game that really got PlatinumGames recognition because a lot of people weren't talking about not Bayonetta, but people weren't talking about PlatinumGames until that game came out. And like for months, even to Game of the Year nominations and discussions, people kept bringing up Bayonetta 2.
I don't think that's true. I think people were still talking about Platinum in some sense. I mean, Mad World on the Wii, right? And then Bayonetta was kind of their quote unquote breakout game. Not necessarily a huge hit, but it was their breakout game. Vanquish. I think they did Metal Gear Rising, right?
Yeah, Revengeance.
Yeah. And so like they've done a lot.
They've done a lot, but I think the way that Bayonetta 2 during that time.
I mean, I think it was a big deal. I think because Nintendo was publishing a mature rated game, which like isn't necessarily something Nintendo goes out of their way to do, but they do that, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, Eternal Darkness, Bad World, like they have done it before, but Bayonetta is something extremely outside of Nintendo's like quote unquote family friendly image, right? Like, I mean, you just watch the opening of Bayonetta 2 and you'll understand why, right? I mean,
with her when the clothes are ripping when she gets touched with the weapons.
Definitely a strategically placed crotch shot in there, also. By the
booty
way,
shot. But I think it was just like, of course you see platinum design and approach to combat all over that game, and it kind of just felt like when Nintendo or some developers for Nintendo, the overlookers, I kind of feel like they went in, took a look at some things and offered some suggestions or something to make it a higher quality that it was. Because it was a game that it got announced at when the Wii U was kind of announced or something, or a year later or something like that, and then it went into the black, and it was really unexpected when the game came out. Like, even just playing the demo, people were just like, oh. Because remember, it was kind of like almost that Wind Waker kind of thing, that it got so much hate because it was a Wii U exclusive.
Yeah, but then, that was the thing, though. I think nobody understood that, like, it was a Wii U exclusive because, even though the IP is owned and managed by Sega, right, Sega wasn't putting up the money for it because, if you remember, at the time, this was before Sega owned Atlas, and they were really struggling. Sega was struggling. Yeah. And so Nintendo kind of came in and said, hey, there's this IP. A few people like really love it. We need to sell consoles. We're hoping to grab this audience. Let us do something with it. Let us help Platinum make this game, and you will get, this amount. Platinum will get this amount, and we'll get this amount. And they did it, and it like Bayonetta was getting 9s and 9.5s everywhere, right? I mean, like that game was getting really great reviews, and I mean, it was really hard to play it with the gamepad, I gotta tell you. But I mean, it was a really cool experience that a lot of Nintendo fans don't get very often.
It's just, I think it's, and we're going to get into the PlatinumGames and our discussions.
Yeah, that's the topic today is PlatinumGames, by the way.
Yeah, I think the thing with it was just that, because this kind of, to me personally, I did an optional opinion on this, why DMC Devil May Cry and Bayonetta 2 got so much hate and those games turned out so good. Like, it's some of the best games out of the series.
DMC is still, like, I think one of the best action games I've ever played.
Yes. It's a hard, that game is just so, Ninja Theory knows its action and PlatinumGames knows action, and I respect both companies with how they approach their games, because they are, to me, top tier. They are the best at what they do, and I just feel like DMC Devil May Cry made me return to that game over and over. I own it like on 3 systems already. Like, I own it on Xbox One. I own the PS3 version and PS4 version. Like, it's so good, and it's just like, man, y'all got mad because of the art design and the direction they was going for DMC Devil May Cry, and with Bayonetta 2, you got mad because it was a Nintendo exclusive.
That game got a lot of revisionist history too. That DMC, right? I mean, nobody liked it when it came out, and now people are like, "Oh, that game's like the best one. I wish they would go back." And it's like, well, you whined because you didn't make a sequel to 4, I guess, and then so they went back to the original series, and now you're like, well, I wish they would have kept it. I'm like, because that sequel, they totally set it up for a sequel.
Yes.
I mean, I guess that's the story of the game anyway, but like the way that game ended was totally setting it up for a sequel, right? So,
yes.
And that Virgil DLC was really good too.
Oh yeah, there's great soundtrack, great combat, great level design, and even a great story. Like it really felt cinematic. Like I could sit down and just be like, I could watch this if this was a movie. Because
they were doing really cool like shape-shifting levels on an Xbox 360 hardware, right? I mean, that was like unheard of at the time, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was cool. I really liked that game. I am sad that that Ninja Theory kind of got the short end of the stick there and didn't get to make another one. But, I mean, now we have Hellblade, right? And that's really cool, so.
Yeah. And I think it's just with PlatinumGames, which I'm gonna hold my thought till we get to that. So our fall lineup, real quick, everybody. So if you take a look at it, this month in April we get Nintendo Switch Sports. May is still up in the air. We don't know yet.
I'm starting to wonder if Advance Wars is going to come out in May. I mean, we kind of talked about that last time.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like kind of early or kind of too late to be doing that. But like the game is ready because it was supposed to be out by now.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I'm sure like all these cartridges and stuff that, you know, the ones they were going to put physically are in at least storage warehouses right now, right?
Yes.
So I was kind of thinking about this last night after we wrapped because, like, I don't sleep at night even when I'm laying in bed or on the couch. Like, I just don't sleep. So I was thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? What I said last time was really stupid. If it was supposed to be out by now, it was probably in a storage warehouse in March, right? So all they have to do is ship these things to the stores, right? And, like, you can get things to a store across the country in, like, a week, you know? So I'm not...
So, and I agree with you. Sorry, everybody's stuttering. I agree with you. Like, I think the copies are like all together, the physical versions and stuff. And I think I feel like there's going to be a update patch or something, and they're going to add the extra content that they probably been working. Because Nintendo and WayForward is not sitting on this game, not doing nothing. They have to be working on something.
Yeah, and like this, I mean, I don't think Nintendo's. I don't want to say dumb enough because that's the wrong term, but like they're not going to sit on this game until this war is over. This war is going to go on for a long time.
Right.
Like it's not slowing down. You know, as someone who monitors social media for his job, like this thing is not going anywhere, you know? Yeah. I mean, some days are better than others, some days are worse than others, but like this thing is not going away. And so I understand that Nintendo was trying to be respectful and everything, but, you know, kind of what we talk about at work is like at some point you gotta find the window where you have to kind of continue your business, you know, and it's, I think doing it at first was respecting obviously people in Ukraine and, you know, war is a sensitive subject, but like at the same time, like WayForward's employees need paid, Nintendo needs paid, the marketing company needs paid. Like, you got to start paying these people, and how do you pay them? You sell the product to make the money to pay the people, right? So
right, because at this point in time, Advance Wars was the project that WayForward was working on. I don't know what else WayForward has planned. No, we don't know what they got in the pipeline. Maybe another Shantae game is coming, but we won't know nothing literally until Advance Wars releases.
Yeah, I kind of want them to start remaking some Nintendo games.
You know what?
Would be a cool series for them to remake actually, or like start remastering or remaking is the Mario and Luigi games.
I can see that.
Or like,
I guess,
you know, a new one.
Well, they have the art style to do it.
I know, like, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Wave 4 is very talented with doing different art styles. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I just
not that they're like a remake studio or anything, but I think it's cool that I think they could do one and be like, yeah, that was fun.
Well, I was thinking about this at work. I was just like, out of all the studios that Nintendo has worked with, definitely just the ones in the West has been Mercury Steam and Wave 4. Like, and maybe that one indie company who did a good job. And the Zelda one with the music that they have, Tales of the Necromancer or something.
Oh,
like they
Crypt,
did.
Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Yeah.
The Cadence of Hyrule.
Cadence of Hyrule. Yeah, those are kind of like the only 4 companies that they have worked with that's in the West, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could see that Nintendo and WayForward building on this relationship of making games and Nintendo publishing it, because regardless of how you see WayForward being such a niche company, they have been consistent, whether the games are good or bad. They really care about design and making great games, and you can see like it has an old 8-bit school feel to some of their games, or even 16-bit feel, but you can see the passion that they put into their games. Whether the execution is good or not, they just like, we're not doing this for a money grab. We actually want to make games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know.
So Ed, before we get into our topic, I'm going to read our Patreon producers real quick, just because I don't want to forget. Because I kind of already forgot, and I only clicked on Patreon because I had a notification. And then I remembered. So I want to thank everybody who supports us on Patreon. If you want to support us, Nintendo Power Block, Boss Rush Podcast, any of our shows on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/Boss Rush Network. For $1, you get the Boss Rush Podcast and Nintendo Power Block Expansion Pass early, 1 week early. And you get After Dark and Standard Definition 2 weeks early. But if you want to support us at the producer tier, the $5 producer tier, you get your name shouted out on this here program and various others here on the Boss Rush Network. So we're going to call out our producer tier supporters: Quentin Jackson, Rebecca Jewell, Adrielle Munger, and my wife, Sana Dirrig. So,
thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank our producer tier. I want to thank all of our patrons. Actually, you guys do a lot for us, and we couldn't do the show without you, and we really appreciate it. If you are listening on free feeds, thank you for supporting us that way. Remember, all of our content is free. Patrons just get it a little early and a couple special perks. So
yes.
If you listen on iTunes and Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. That'd be really great. Thanks.
Yes. So, June we have Mario Strikers and Fire Emblem 3 Hopes. July is Xenoblade. August is Up in the Air. Splatoon 3 is in September. October is Up in the Air. Pokemon, we're assuming in November.
It's always November. It's always November.
I know.
It's Pokemon. It's always the week before Black Friday. It's Pokemon, dude. It's November.
I just want to make sure that it gets, because Nintendo, we was talking about this in the chat. Nintendo is dropping announcements out of nowhere. How in the heck did you do Xenoblade Chronicles 3, announce a date change, a special edition, and then 2 days later, you do a Splatoon announcement? Like, this is insane. And I think there's Joy-Cons now.
Are there?
With those, I think so. Someone said.
Oh, no, you can't tell me that.
But I haven't seen anything.
Wait, no, you can't tell me that. No, don't do that to me.
Because I feel like Nintendo would do some Joy-Cons for this. Because I think
they did the special edition controller, which we both have. It's the best controller.
Yes. So, because I think they're going to do for Splatoon, they may do a Joy-Con with the yellow and purple. Because I think that is the theme color of Splatoon 3. And everything.
Yeah. You're talking about Joy-Cons for Splatoon.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Xenoblade. I was like, oh
dude,
no. I don't. I'm like the only person in Boss Rush that doesn't care about Splatoon. I've tried. I just can't. It's fine. It's a fun game. I think it's great, but like, yeah.
I think I'm excited, because I got 1 and I got 2. I'm excited for 3, because I think it's a great fun series. I'm like, it's a good, time waster and everything, and playing with around the world, playing with different people around the world. It's just a fun laid back game. And artistic wise and design wise, it looks really good. So I'm excited to play. It's not a big franchise, but it has sold well. So, and everything. So, but we still got some ports. We got Mario and Rabbids 2. Who knows what else that we got coming? Like indie games, other third party ports. Or maybe some new third-party games.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about all of this last episode. Yeah. I don't think we need to rehash this again.
No, it was just, it's exciting to see now.
We'll revisit this topic the next time tomorrow when Nintendo decides to say, "Hey,
But if they do a Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Pro controller,
stop.
I'm ordering.
I will do terrible things for a Xenoblade Chronicles 3 controller.
They need to do a Pro controller. They need to. I will order that with the quickness. I'm already been looking at Nintendo website, like on my Nintendo. I've been checking every day. I'm like, hurry up and drop that announcement. Drop it and be like, okay, pre-orders are open. Bam, I need this.
Yeah, don't do that to me.
I know. Well, Corey, you want to get into talking about PlatinumGames because we had a discussion about them on last episode, and I won't say it's the rise and fall and the rise again of PlatinumGames. I think it's kind of just talking about them as a developer in video games, and just seeing where we stand at with them as a company and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I like PlatinumGames enough. I'm not like a super fan. I enjoy some of their games. I think Vanquish is awesome.
Yes.
If anybody has an Xbox One or Series X or S or whatever, or PlayStation 4 or 5, the Vanquish Anniversary Edition, I think it's like $20. I think it's actually bundled with Bayonetta 1 for $40, I think. But Vanquish is cool. It's like this weird. It's the best way I can describe it is if G.I. Joe was made by the Japanese. Right? Yeah. I mean, that's what it feels like. It's like a fast-paced. It's like a super kinetic Gears of War also, right? Like it's a cover-based shooter, but the movement is super fast. There's all these really kind of cool acrobatic slides and moves, and I think to heal yourself you have to smoke cigarettes and stuff. It's like really strange, but it's cool. Maybe I'm confusing that with Metal Gear. I'm not sure, but it's like it's super cool. It's super fun. I think it's one of Platinum's best games, and I think it's one of their most underrated games. Definitely check that out.
And it's a short campaign. I think it's like about 5 levels.
It's I mean it's only like 4 or 6 hours, the campaign. It's not very long, but it's fun. It doesn't overstay its welcome, which I think is what makes it better, to be honest with you. But Vanquish is fun. I mean, a lot of people kind of point to Okami as their unofficial first game because when Platinum left Capcom, it was literally the entire Clover studio, which made Okami. So they have range, right? The studio has range. They have a lot of range. They have a lot of ideas. But but it just kind of feels like they've been mismanaged lately. You know, like Babylon's Fall is their current project, and I think an article went up on our website, last week or 2 weeks ago or something, where like their active concurrent player base is under 100 players, which is awful.
Yeah, I think it was like a couple of days ago that they was only at 8 players, like on Steam,
which
or
is
something
crazy. Which, I mean, good on them for trying something new, but jeez, dude, like every time they have a hit, they have like one or two misses, right?
Yeah.
Like you think of all the great games they've made, obviously Bayonetta series, Astral Chain, which is, you know, obviously we kind of talked about how Nintendo it feels like Nintendo knows how to get the best out of Platinum. We've had that conversation. We're going to have it a little bit more later, but you know, the Vanquish and what else
So
sorry, my nose is like, I'm getting ready to sneeze and I'm trying to like
so like Metal Gear Rise and Revengeance, like when they kind of so we mentioned Sega, and with Sega,
Nier sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but Nier Automata, it was like their surprise hit too, right?
Yes.
And so like they have all these great games. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you or cut you off.
Oh no.
But like you think about those games, but then for every one of those you have like a Ninja Turtles, a Transformers, an Korra, the Last Airbender thing, right? Legend of Korra.
Yes.
You have Babylon's Fall. You have that iPhone game that was like part of Apple Arcade, so they didn't really sell that game. You have Scalebound, which was canceled, right? Like you have those things, and you really start looking at their portfolio. I mean, even Star Fox Zero, right? Like something that I totally forgot existed until like I was kind of doing some research before the show about games they were making. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot Star Fox Zero was Platinum, and like that game wasn't terrible. I think that game's better than people say it is, but it's still not a great game, right? And like you start adding up all these misses, and you're like, well, maybe Bayonetta isn't a shining star of the industry. They just like they'll hit and they'll miss. They'll hit and they'll miss. They'll hit and they'll miss. And it's like they're not consistent. They seem really mismanaged. And they're out there essentially begging to be purchased, right? Like,
yes,
we kind of talked about this a little bit last week as well. Hideki Kamiya is out there saying, hey, Microsoft, let's talk. Let's do something together. Their new president is like, yeah, we're really open to being acquired. And then Kamiya gets back out there and is like talking about how strange it is that Japanese companies don't like the idea of being purchased by Western companies because it's such an old school way of thinking. And it's like, well, they're clearly poking the Microsoft bear, right? And being like, hey, please buy us.
So and this is, I think, where I feel like it's greed and not really saving, because you wasn't talking about being acquired until Activision got all that money for Microsoft to buy them, and now y'all want to start talking because
I mean, really Activision. They're not owned by Activision. They just had deals because Activision had.
I'm talking about when they saw the news how much Microsoft was paying out to acquire Activision.
This started before the Activision stuff.
I kind of feel like it was after.
No, it was before. We talked about it at one point on Boss Rush podcast. When Hideki Kamiya was like poking the Microsoft bear about maybe restarting Scalebound or working together again, that was before the Activision purchase.
But that gives a sense of them working together, not a sense of being acquired or anything.
I think they knew they were in trouble then because Babylon's Fall wasn't coming together, and I think they were looking to at least secure a budget for their next project, if not be acquired, right? And here's the thing. Microsoft, we don't need to talk about this a whole lot, but like PlatinumGames, I think, is the perfect Japanese studio for Microsoft in a sense that they're open to being purchased by a Western company. Microsoft has a tendency of purchasing studios who are quote unquote in financial trouble.
Yeah.
And I think Platinum could do some unique things with Microsoft IP, right? I think they could do something unique with Perfect Dark. I think that would be really interesting, of like a super chaotic action game in Perfect Dark. I think they could do something in the Gears of War universe. I think that would be really interesting to see.
Which I kind of feel like they will literally lose not just their style and their philosophy of design. I think they would just lose themselves of being what they are known for in the sense, because of course, because it would sound like they are turning Eastern developer more into a Western developer with Microsoft's IPs. Which
they don't have to do that either, though. I mean, they could do whatever they want. That's the thing. That's what Microsoft is buying these studios to do. Is like they are going to work on the projects that they want to work on, right? And like, theoretically, that's going to work to an extent. Obviously, Microsoft's going to have to step in at some point and kind of get these people to actually put stuff out, right? I mean, that's the problem right now. It's like they have what did we count, like 30 games in development and none of them are out. you know, like that's a problem. Sorry, that's a problem.
I've mentioned this. I was telling LeBron this. I was just like, I understand Microsoft buying all of these companies, but it's going to be the products that come out. Because if these products come out and they don't live up to the expectations that a lot of gamers have for them, you can acquire as many companies that you want. But if the result of these games do not hit, what was all of this hype and discussions and upset and anger and happy and joy, all these emotions? What is it benefiting if none of these games are hitting? Of course, they're going to be big on Game Pass. That's fine. But it doesn't make no sense that you acquired this company, you got this game out, and 1 or 2 weeks after it come out, no one's talking about it.
Yeah.
No one's even thinking about it. We're still waiting on. I think we're still waiting on a lot of companies, and we're not going to focus too much on Microsoft. But I want to see some. I want to see some results from all of these purchases.
I do too, and like I mean, this year, supposedly the 3 big games this year, well, 4 technically, I guess, from Microsoft are Hellblade 2, supposedly Redfall, supposedly Forza, the new Forza Motorsport, supposedly, and Starfield from Bethesda, right? Those are like the 4 heavy hitters this year. And obviously the Cuphead DLC is coming, and Minecraft DLC is coming, Minecraft Dungeons DLC is coming. They have stuff like that, but like, those are the big games. This is the year. Like last year, we were like, Xbox is back with Forza and Halo and Psychonauts and Flight Simulator. That was a good year for Microsoft. I'll give them that. Yeah. Right? But those are like, especially Forza and Halo, that's what Xbox has been living off of for a decade. That and Gears. So like, I want to see an Xbox without Halo. I liked Halo Infinite a lot, right?
It's.
Let me just finish this thought, and then you can go. I liked Halo Infinite a lot, right? I thought it felt like Halo. It played really well. The open world stuff worked well enough for it. Grappling Hook was a great add. The multiplayer feels great, but it's still Halo. Like I'm tired of them trying to force these IP. Granted, it's not like Mario and Zelda where like, these games are great, and then when they reinvent it or something, these games are still great, right? Halo is one of those games that's like, yeah, they were great during the Bungie days. And then when 343 took over, they've had, 3 entries to try to reinvent themselves every time. Mm-hmm. And, like, I liked Halo 4 a lot. Halo 5 was fine. Halo Infinite is great, but, like, it feels like a franchise that's trying to dig themselves out of a hole. And to that extent, it's not the same as Nintendo putting a new Zelda game out or a new Mario game out.
The thing with Halo, if I know we're gonna get back into Platinum,
we are.
The thing with Halo Infinite was that it was such a highlight that everybody was looking for, and then it dropped the ball. It really for players who are focusing on the multiplayer stuff. Mm-hmm. And of course, season 2 is coming out, and it just feel like 343 Studios did all of the, they promised and they want to have all of this stuff delivered, but it's going to take some time, which I can understand. Development is hard.
I mean, that game was in a lot of. I think the thing with Microsoft also, especially 343. Mm-hmm. Is 343 does a lot of contract work. They don't have the stability of a team that stays there for a decade or two to put out multiple games to build that team camaraderie. Like, as soon as Halo Infinite left, like, I don't know if you were, like, looking at Twitter or LinkedIn or anything, but, like, I saw probably at least 30, 40, 50 people say, today's my last day at 343, today's my last day as a artist at 343 on the bigger, like, when you're on social media most of the day and you're on LinkedIn, people updating their LinkedIn profiles or their Twitter or something, it's like, holy crap, like, look how many people just their contract was up.
Well, and I think that last year for Microsoft was such a weird thing. Flight Simulator came out, okay, it did. No, they did something on PC that disappeared. Psychonauts 2 came out. Great game. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Glad that it got a lot of Game of the Year nominations. That game disappeared. Forza Horizon 5 came out, I think 2 weeks after it came out. That disappeared.
People are still talking about Forza. They're putting content out pretty regularly.
Well, it really just feels like
to your point, it's still Forza though. Like, it's still Forza. Yeah. Like, Forza's in, like, the opposite position of Halo, where, like, it comes out every other year like clockwork, Forza Horizon, but there's nothing to iterate because it's already so good. So when you play it, it feels like you're playing the same game 2 years later, right? And
I guess it's more for me. It's just like it feels forgotten after it gets released. Like
but
maybe
I think that's just Xbox right now. Every time they release a great game, people are talking about it for like a week, 2 weeks. Halo's multiplayer, they're talking about it for like a month until like after Christmas, and then everybody's like, "Oh, what's Xbox?" You know what I mean? Like, that's just Xbox, and it's been Xbox since the Xbox One launched, right? Like, we talk about it with Sunset Overdrive, with Quantum Break, with ReCore. I mean, granted, ReCore wasn't as great as I was hoping.
It tended to be.
Yeah,
I trust me, I agree with you with that.
Halo Infinite. I mean, even Gears, right? Like, Gears by far, I think, is Xbox's best franchise. And guess what people said about Gears 5? Like, they're like, "Oh, this is the best Gears ever," for what, 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And to the point where, like, nobody bought Gears. Like, it didn't even make MPD. And so what did they do? They ported it to Series X, and they put the DLC out for free. The Hivebusters DLC, a whole campaign for free on Game Pass.
Like,
just free.
And I just and maybe that's part of my fear with PlatinumGames if they were bought from Microsoft, is that yes, they're gonna make some great games, whether it's new IPs or taking an old IP and doing something different with it. I fear that it's going to get forgotten.
Yeah,
and everybody's gonna attack PlatinumGames because. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna piggyback off your thought when you finished. I was prepping myself.
Oh, No, I just feel like they're going to get attacked. Um, they're just going to get attacked by
Mm-hmm.
negativity, and it's
Yeah.
just like I don't want this for Platinum Games. I'm fine
I
with Microsoft buying Platinum Games. I'm literally fine with that. Oh, go
I
ahead.
I am too. I'm afraid, just like all these other studios that Microsoft has purchased, and
Hmm.
I think the problem now is output from Microsoft. We've forgotten about all of these studios. All of these studios, except for Bethesda, because I mean they're still putting out. They just put out Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop on PlayStation, right? Like people are
Yeah.
still talking about Bethesda, but not Xbox Bethesda, just Bethesda. And
Right.
I think that everything that Microsoft is doing right with Game Pass and cloud streaming and preserving their old games and backwards compatibility, as much as they're doing everything right, they're like the company that out of all three of these shouldn't be doing that in a sense. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I love Xbox. I do. It's my, if I'm not playing my Switch, it's what I'm playing. I'm playing my Xbox. But like they don't have the history that Nintendo does. They don't have the history that PlayStation does. And I think that's kind of circling back around to Platinum in a sense that if Microsoft bought them, I feel like it would be great. It would be great on paper, right? We
Yes.
have another Japanese studio. We have a big Japanese studio.
You
You
got
like
two of the.
Bayonetta, you like Astral Chain, you like Vanquish. We have a cool studio now that can do things like that.
You literally have two of the best stylist, mostly action stylized combat. Ninja Theory and Platinum Games under one roof.
Yeah.
That's uh that's that's bunkers. That's crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but that is kind of the best.
Yeah.
You
But
know, and
but
it.
to that extent is like, and just to get back to Platinum, I
Mhm.
really want to talk about Platinum because
Yes.
it's been 42 minutes and I think we've touched on them for like 5. But like Platinum, I feel like when they announce that, they get a lot of cheers, and then 3 or 6 months later, unless they had a project to announce that was coming out within the time that Microsoft purchased them, but to the end of whenever, like, okay, say Platinum's working on a project, Microsoft is secretly funding it, Microsoft announces that Microsoft purchases Platinum, and they show a trailer for this game and they say it's out in 6 months, right? That would be the best case scenario for Platinum. But
Yes.
the way Microsoft has been operating, Platinum is working on Babylon's Fall for Square. If Microsoft purchased Platinum right now, the initial announcement would be exciting, and then Platinum would just get lost with every other studio because there's no output. And that's why I think if Platinum was to be purchased by anybody, it should be Nintendo. Now, Nintendo's not really buying studios,
Hmm.
but we've already talked about it. Nintendo gets the best out of Platinum every time.
Yes.
You look at Wonderful 101, did some interesting things with the gamepad, right? You talk about Bayonetta 2 and hopefully Bayonetta 3. Definitely stellar combat, you know. I don't think Bayonetta is going to be any less than good, right? Bayonetta 3.
Hmm.
I hope it's great, but I don't think it's going to be anything less than good. You look at Astral Chain, right? Great, great game. Star Fox Zero. I mean, I don't know what to say about Star Fox Zero.
I could say with Star Fox Zero, whether whether you take it, they helped the team of Nintendo to do it. So, and yes, that was a Miyamoto project. And I to me personally, I feel like that was something really new for Platinum because they'd never done anything like that. So whether it was like whether how you people see it, if it was good or bad, it was something definitely new for Platinum, and it really showed that Nintendo at least was able to rely on Platinum. Because I would have went with Bandai Namco, but I think Bandai Namco was doing Smash for Nintendo at that time, so they really couldn't go with them. And plus, Bandai Namco had all their other games that they had to
Well, I mean,
address.
Bandai Namco is deep in like Dark Souls and Elden Ring right now, obviously too. So I mean, I I do think though, like, it would be really cool actually to see Platinum do. Not that this has anything to do with what we're talking about right now, but would be like a stylized action Fire Emblem game.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
But that's a conversation for a different day. I mean, so Platinum, I'm concerned for Platinum because, like, it's not like they're a bad studio. I just think they're I think they're mismanaged. I think they have a guy at the top that is looking for ways. I mean, obviously they're looking for ways to make money. That's how you stay in business. But I mean, like,
yeah,
I feel like they're looking in the wrong places and not following what makes them special, right? It's their stylized action games are what makes them special. And I feel like they're in a tough space because that genre is so niche. It
is.
To the point where, like, yeah, you got to break outside of that mold at some point to try to make some money. And, like, they saw the game as a service route. Maybe not the best idea, right? But, like, I don't know. I don't know what Platinum is doing. I just don't know.
I think they put themselves in such a box of being good at melee combat and weapon combat. They're top notch with that. So, Kobe Tecmo is good at it, Ninja Theory, but if you want the best of the best when it comes to that, PlatinumGames are with that. Try to break outside of that though is what they struggle with. I think this was the weird thing that I kind of had with kind of like with Epic with Cliff Blazinski and stuff, but just like guns, third person action, but what can you do with Epic to break out of that mode? Because if you're only known for this, it's going to get tiresome and you're not going to be able to elevate yourself as a game designer and developer. Now, I'm not knocking Cliff Blazinski or anything, not trying to knock
he's him. Like, I wouldn't be knocking him either. He's one of the greatest game designers of, like, the 90s and early 2000s, right?
Yeah. And it's just like, okay.
I mean, he created one of the most popular games of all time right now. He just didn't stay to see it through, right? Fortnite. That was his baby. That was his idea,
Mm-hmm. And it's just amazing to see. And I think with Nintendo, at least with Nintendo with Platinum, they could give them the opportunity to be like, okay, we want you guys to try something else. We know that you guys are good for action games, and yeah, we'll pay money for that. But you know what? Let's see you guys do a platforming game. Let's see you take Kid Icarus and do something very different with it.
I mean, they could even apply Kid Icarus to their stylized action formula. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome. Fighting, it would almost be like. Almost like a kid-friendly God of War, right? Like, you could totally do that, right? You could go in with fighting mythological creatures and monsters, and like it would literally be Breath of the Wild meets God of War, like old school God of War, right?
And you have people at Nintendo who could do open world. I'm not just talking about Monolith Soft, but like the people who did Kirby in the Forgotten Land, I cannot think of HAL Laboratories. They never did any. I mean, even though it's not an open world game or anything, they have great level design in that game, and they could if they wanted to connect it and make it open world. HAL Laboratories could do that. They have people at Nintendo who could help. You know what, Platinum? You guys focus on the action, get the stuff right. We can help you guys make dungeons. We can help you guys make side quests and do all of that. We could co-develop this game, and it may be one of the best Kid Icarus games ever. Like, if you're talking about a Kid Icarus open world action game, Platinum would be the one to go with it with Nintendo, and at least it will give them the idea that we still have our traditional combat, but we're also getting to more RPG or more adventure. And so we're opening our doors to be able to develop outside the genre that we're known for. And Nintendo would be like, okay, if we needed to delay this, we would. We're doing it for quality reasons. We're not doing it because we're looking for sales or anything, which they probably are. But they will do all the marketing. We want to make sure that if you guys are going to get into this new genre, we want to make sure that you guys learn from the best and you bring out the best. And Kid Icarus would be, dude. I would be like, okay, a Kid Icarus by Platinum in open world, got that, like you said, God of War style. Oh heck yeah!
Yeah, I think that would be the perfect genre for Kid Icarus right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's stylized action, but not too crazy. There's a lot of unique enemies and boss fights, and it's pretty vertical, and you can go through and unlock different weapons and abilities and tell a cool story. Like I just feel like old school God of War is a great template for Kid Icarus. Obviously do some quality of life upgrades and stuff, but like Platinum could easily do that and apply a little bit of Bayonetta flair in there, like
Oh yeah,
totally could do Kid Icarus.
but dang, now I want to play against Kid Icarus. Dude, if that get announced, I'll be like, Corey, I don't care where you at, get on the phone. We need to podcast. We need to talk this out.
If I'm in a briefing at work or something, I'd be like, I gotta go.
Everybody, I got to take my lunch right now. Eddie, you just stepped in. There was an announcement that just happened. I'm gonna be in the break room. Corey, what are you doing? Did you get the news? Yeah, Ed, I got the news. I'm like, I'll see you at 7 o'clock, 8:30 tonight. Just do a 25-minute, then it'd be like, dang, it's an hour and 40 minutes. What
Yeah.
the heck are you talking about?
Yeah, but I mean, I realistically, I don't know if Platinum's going to get purchased by anybody. I think Nintendo gets a lot of great work out of them.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see an Astral Chain 2, personally. I think, I mean, they said that they planned it to be a trilogy, but Nintendo only greenlit one game because they wanted to see how it went, right? So I would love that, but, we'll see. I mean, technically, Nintendo could do a second one without them, right? But then who would you get to do that, and why would you do it without them? I would say Bandai Namco first, but
I think because of the Ninja Gaiden series.
Yeah, but I don't think people care about Ninja Gaiden as much as they used to. Plus they're so into like Neo, and what was the game they just put out recently that's kind of like Neo but not really?
Oh goodness. I know.
What did they just put out?
I know it was a Ninja Gaiden collection.
No.
That trilogy. But I don't know what else was after that. What else did have Koei Tecmo put out lately? Search Your Paradise, that's Square Enix. Dang, I really do not know.
I swear they just put something out. Koei Tecmo.
Because I know they got Three Hopes coming out. That's their next game that I know of. But yeah, like the last thing I could think of is that Ninja Gaiden trilogy.
Yeah, but they just put out something that's kind of like Neo, but not really. It's not Samurai Warriors. Although, you know what their secret sauce is at this point is that Atelier series. Dude, they're putting out a new one of those games every like 3 months.
Dude, I may have to research that series because I really don't know. I'm like, is this a JRPG? This an action?
It is. They're like cheap JRPGs with a lot of like anime
dialogue
girls. We'll say.
I'll have to look into one and try to be like, what the world is this?
But man, I don't know what game they just put out, but anyways, just continue.
Yeah. So I think with Platinum Games, I think I can't say we probably both agree that we want the best for Platinum.
Yeah, of course we do. Like it's not, you never want anybody to fail.
Oh yeah, but I think I don't want them to close their doors. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because I know I'm tired of going to Microsoft and Ninja Theory, but when Microsoft purchased Ninja Theory, that was that was a mind blown thing, because you would think that with all the grades that Ninja Theory put out, they just didn't get the sale numbers and everything. And as great as Hellblade was, I think for their first game that they developed and produced and everything, they may have not still got that money back. So teaming up with
Hellblade was pretty successful. I think Hellblade was pretty much their most successful venture.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Because and I think Microsoft, to me personally, I think when they were not teamed up, when they were bought from Microsoft, it was mostly a surprise and a shock for me. But when for me personally, I took time to think about it. I'm like, that makes perfect sense, and I'm not mad that Ninja Theory was bought by Microsoft. I'm sad that Nintendo didn't get to work with Ninja Theory, but I was just like, I could see them doing good things, and I thought it was a strong. I think that it's still to this day. I think it's their best acquisition for Microsoft.
It looks like Hellblade has sold about 3 million copies.
3 million. Okay, so that's really good.
It's hard to tell because when it came to Game Pass, when Microsoft bought them, they like doubled their player count. So it's really hard to tell. It seems somewhere between 3 and 4 million units.
Okay,
which is a lot, right? I mean, DMC only sold initially like 800,000 units, right? And
that's
then
crazy.
Enslaved didn't hit 1 million. I think the last game that hit 1 million for them was Heavenly Sword, ironically.
Yeah, and that was a Sony game.
Yeah. Well, great game, by the way. Oh, man, I wish they would have made a sequel to that game. That game was cool, except there was no jump button, which really upset me.
No jump button, and you had to not touch the controller to block.
Yeah. Yeah, because it used the 6th axis to block, but like you had to hold the controller straight, so everybody just put it down to block.
Yeah. But I think
sorry, they did the Star Wars Disney Infinity stuff too. Which
okay.
I totally forgot that they did the Star Wars Disney Infinity.
Which is weird. I didn't know that at one time. Or I may have forgot.
I think everybody forgot about Disney Infinity except for me, let's be honest. I have all the figures staring right at me on the wall in front of me. So.
Well, you know what? I thought that whoever made the first one did the second and third game.
Well, they did. I'm just saying that Ninja Theory did the Star Wars stuff. There's still Marvel and other stuff coming out at that time.
Okay. Well, I will say for Platinum Games, and I think we're probably gonna wrap up for this one.
Yeah.
I think with Platinum Games is that they are they're talented, they're great. I know right now they got 2 buildings, and I think they said that second building is for live service, which I think that's going to end up getting changed and stuff. And I'm not sure what their future hold and everything, because I honestly, after Bayonetta 3, what happens? Where do they go?
Yeah. Sorry, I heard a really loud noise. I don't really know what it was.
Oh no. Yeah.
That was scary. I don't know what it was.
Oh no.
Huh.
Yeah. So, like what? Yeah, because once Bayonetta 3 releases, I know Project GG, whatever that may be, but like, does Babylon Fall get revamped? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think that game is going to get Godfall.
The thing is like Babylon's Fall said that they said that Babylon's Fall is good through season 3, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, I know a lot of people just like if it comes to PlayStation Plus, like the free download for the month and stuff. I think they'll see a bigger count. But other than that, yeah, I really don't know what Platinum's gonna do. And if to me, and this may be a Nintendo thing, if Nintendo doesn't do business with them, they're in serious trouble. Now they could do stuff with Square Enix, which is fine, and but I really don't want Square Enix to buy Platinum neither.
Yeah, I mean I don't think they will at this point. I think Square Enix is trying to downsize personally, but it's my opinion. My opinion.
So, which is weird. They're trying to downsize, but put out like about 9-10 projects of games. You be like, dang, Square Enix, what y'all much doing?
Right. So
now, if they sell Crystal Dynamics like you think they will, ooh, that would be. I think that would be a good discussion to have.
Yeah, I mean, we can have it a different day. This is not. We're done. We're done.
Yeah. But any last thoughts, Corey, about Platinum Games?
No, I hope they find something that's going to make them successful. I am concerned for their financial state, but I hope they find something because even though they have their ups and downs and they have their stinkers and they have their A games, there's a place for them in this industry, and I think they're an important part of the industry, whether you like their games or not. Having that niche kind of filled is important, and I just hope that they find it.
Yes. Well, with that, everybody, Corey, where can we find you?
You can find me at I am Corey HD on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me hosting the Boss Rush podcast. You can find me on Nintendo Power Block, and you can find me on Standard Definition. Yay.
You guys can find me on Twitter at ThatVirtualCode and on Instagram at ThatVirtualCode. You can find me hosting Nintendo Power Block. Sometimes I do some 1v1s. And if you guys want to check out more Expansion Pass, join us on Patreon. You can join us for $1 or become a producer at $5 and get the show a week early. We would love to hear what you guys think. We would love to have some of your topics too if you are a Patreon producer, and more. I'm very excited to see what the future holds for Platinum. I'm excited actually to see what the rest of 2022 is going to bring. Because, man, I think we got a lot of great games coming this year. Definitely for Nintendo. We got, oh goodness, Nintendo. If you surprise us with anything within the next 2 months, I'm going to yell. But also podcast more on Expansion Pass and everything. And yes, you guys could check out Nintendo Power Block live on Mondays at 7:30/8:30. And if you miss it, our live recording on Twitch, you can check us out on Boss Rush Network and on YouTube on Wednesdays. And check us out at Anchor FM and other podcast apps that you subscribe to and listen to us at. Join us on Discord. We would love to hear what you guys also think about what you think about Platinum. Where do their future hold and everything? We would love to hear you guys discuss and chat it up with us about that. But then, everybody, have a great week, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time on Nintendo Expansion Pass. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.